Hi, this is my next video, so please subscribe and thank you for watching. What I want to talk about today is why do we protest? It was very stark, the difference that I saw between the way that conservatives were reacting to the protests after Trump got elected, the Women's March, etc., versus the way that they themselves have been protesting for years about Obama and calling him a communist and all the czars he was appointing and just saying all these racist stuff about him all the time. It was really disgusting. So for us to protest, us in the resistance to protest the travesty that we saw, what happened to our democracy, the country, etc., that we felt the right to protest. We felt that we wanted to have our voices heard. And then conservatives were going on and on, oh, snowflake this and snowflake that, blah, blah, blah. In the days after the election, I'm sure a lot of us were very distraught. I personally spent way too much time on Facebook, just wanting to be heard, wanting to scream to the world, basically, why is this happening and what can we do about it? Now, I'm lucky enough to have friends that I can still be friends with, even though they're conservative. Some of them are, I don't really want to describe them in too much detail, but, I'm going to be still considered friends with them. But yeah, I don't disagree. I don't agree with almost any post that they have, any post whatsoever on Facebook. But I was able to hit a note, and I think part of being in the resistance is being able to find ways that effectively will allow us to be heard by the opposition, by those that just think everything's great. Trump is great. They're riding the Trump train. Whoop whoop. So I'm going to read it verbatim. I probably could paraphrase it and say it more eloquently today than I did back then, in the days after the election. But this is what I wrote on face in response to a Facebook post of a friend of mine who's conservative complaining about the Women's March and the protests. I said, because he was asking why do liberals protest? Why? What for? I said, when someone dies, we have more reason to protest. When civil rights, minorities, and women's rights and the environment are threatened, we protest for the children, for the future. The other side does so out of ignorance and fear of the scary mixed race man and of an America that is changing, but change is always constant. And that's more or less my that was my view at the time, and it's still basically my view. The reasons that people kneel in the NFL, the players, when the national anthem is played, is not because they're afraid of the country changing and oh they're afraid that their life isn't going to be as good tomorrow as it was yesterday. The things are going to get worse for them. They're protesting to try to bring attention to make things better. The reason the Women's March happened was because we wanted to not have our country go backwards. My view is the other side wants things to go backwards, but you can't. You can't. And a longer video could be made about which, why do conservatives feel this way or liberals feel this way or progressives, whatever you want to refer to it as. But it's one thing to protest injustice. It's one thing to say people will actually die when health care is cut, when services are cut. Our populace is going to become less educated through cutting and slashing STEM, research, grants, education in general, the services the elderly rely on, the ability for this country to be a country of immigration, a country where the best of the world can come here and flourish. If we protest that, I don't see why anyone can't understand that all we want to do is allow this country to flourish. When people protested, and I can never forget the image in my mind of this grandmother when was it Sean? No, it was oh, that crazy guy from Fox News. He used to be on Fox News, not Sean Hannity, but Glenn Beck. When Glenn Beck had his Restore Honor or something march or protest in Washington D.C., there was some grandmother that was being interviewed there, and I don't want to just go into any negative detail about her, describe what she looked like, etc. But you can probably imagine. And she basically was bawling her eyes out, saying that I'm here to make sure that one day, when my grandkids ask, Grandma, why didn't you do anything, that she could say that she was there. But what was she there for? Did the world fall apart? Did Obama destroy America? No. Did racism end? No. Did the Affordable Care Act bankrupt the country like they said it would? No, 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 no. But we do have people every single day dying in the streets. We have people being uneducated. We have women being mistreated, minorities being mistreated. And I'm sorry, we are all people. So if I'm not mistreated, it should bother me just as much as if someone else is. And I think that's what we stand for. That's why we raise our voices. And that's why we're in the resistance. That's my opinion. Thanks.